A recent report shows a slight improvement in the economy, which gives some Americans a little glimmer of hope, maybe. But my next guest says there's an eerie parallel between today's economic situation, social unrest, geopolitics, with those of the Great Depression. Are we headed for an economic disaster or worse? Joining me now is Trends Research Institute founder Gerald Celente. And Gerald, we were just talking before the segment here. You started your business in 1980. 1980, Jimmy Carter's going out, Ronald Reagan's coming in. It was morning in America, wasn't it?
Well, for a while it was, and then things started to change.
When did they start to change?
I believe they really started to change with the banking system. Again, first of all, I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in anybody's political religion. I see things for what they are, not the way I want them to be.
Right.
So what I have to say has no political agenda behind it. When did things work the best? They worked the best when the Glass-Steagall Act was there.
I agree.
They worked the best before NAFTA. Our standard of living was much higher. Again, it's only the data. So when did it start to change? That's when the change started happening. So when I say look at the parallels, the crash of '29, the Great Depression, currency wars, trade wars, World War, the Panic of '08, the Great Recession / Depression. There's a depression going on in Greece, in Portugal, in Spain, in Ireland, in Romania, in Bulgaria, in Hungary. There's depressions going on. We're in a severe recession here. This recovery, you know, it's a paper recovery. Currency wars are already happening. Trade wars are heating up. Oh, and here's that nice one. How about Iran? You want another one? We'll keep it going.
All right. You're talking about Iran. You're talking about the fact that Iran, we are going to have a war. You think we're going to go to war and that it will cover up the financial problems that we have.
Again, run over the parallels again. I'm not talking about war. They're talking about war. I'm going to tell you, I don't want you to have any of those nuclear weapons. And if you do, bombs away Obama. You know, I'm not making this up. So if they take it, it's the same path. The path is being laid out in front of us. History is repeating itself. Only the names and places have changed.
Tell me about this Iran situation again. So if we go to war with Iran, are you saying that it will cover up the financial problems because of the fact that the war machine will provide jobs, growth in various industries and so forth? Or are you talking about something much bigger?
Oh, much bigger, much different. Look, 7 of the last recessions, post-World War recessions, were preceded by spikes in oil prices. If we go to war against Iran, we're saying this is the beginning of World War III. You want to talk about a fragile recovery unraveling? That'll do it really nice. These aren't the Iraqis, these aren't the Libyans, these are the Persians. They've been around a real long time. There's 70 million of them, and they're not going anyplace. So what we're saying is if there's war, and by the way, war has already been declared. An economic war has been declared by the Senate and signed by President Obama on New Year's Eve with the National Defense Authorization Act. The embargo is being put upon Iran. Again, another parallel, but a flip. Remember that in Japan, they cut the Japanese off from resources before World War II? The story they never talk about? Now they're stopping Iran from selling their resources. Oil production in Iran now is down at a 10-year low. So they're putting them out of business. They're building this, they're beating the drums of war.
You follow trends, you predict, you write about trends. That's what your whole business is about, trends. Do you worry sometimes about getting off of the financial trends? And I go back to I think it was maybe late 80s, early 90s. There was a guy named Joe Granville. Joe Granville called the crash of '87 almost to the day. And Joe Granville then was touted as being the soothsayer of everybody on Wall Street. Joe started predicting earthquakes, and it was crazy. And so he lost all his credibility. Do you think that the financial markets, where you really focus a lot of your time and effort, that you're getting some of these other things really are far afield from what happens?
Oh, no, not at all. We look at over 300 different trend categories. I'm the guy that came up with the term clean food in 19 93, the whole organic movement, organic coffees. All things are connected, or as Chief Seattle said, all things are connected like the blood which unites us all. So when you're looking at data, you look at geopolitical, you look at environment, you look at business, you look at social, you bring them all together. And that's how we make our forecasts. And by the way I began to make my name was I too called the 1987 stock market.
Yeah, you did.
crash.
You did. Yeah. Yes, you did. So as we're sitting there now playing around 13,000, we're back to a number that makes a lot of people not afraid to open their 401k statement. Where are we going to be? Are you short-term forecast, 6 months, or are you more of a 6 years?
Well, as long as they keep interest rates low. This is, again, a replay. What got us out of the crash of 2000 when the NASDAQ crashed and we were in a recession? After 9/11, they began to lower interest rates to 46-year lows.
Right.
And now the Fed is flooding the marketplace with cheap money with interest rates at near zero. So as long, and the Europeans are doing the same thing with the ECB, as you well know, dumping $1.2 trillion into the banks to borrow it for 3 years at 1% interest. So as long as they keep putting money into it, it'll keep up.
What are you doing with your money?
I'm in gold. I've been in gold. I began buying gold in 1978. You talked about Rick Carter. My first buy was $187.50 an ounce.
Then you went through some lean years.
Oh,
Wait.
I also bought at the high
Of those days,
that
yes.
day too. Yeah.
Yes.
I learned a lot. You know, it's a learning process. But I'm invested over 80% in gold. Have been. Oh, here's some numbers, by the way. Go back 10 years. You're talking about the market. 10 years ago, a barrel of Brent crude was selling at roughly $22 a barrel. Today it's selling at roughly $124 a barrel. Go back 10 years ago, gold, $280 an ounce. Now with the pullback, $16.50.
Yeah.
If you made that one investment, you have a 5 times return.
Gerald Celente, you're always full of great information, always interesting. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.